Time is precious. I think we all know that time is our greatest commodity. Today I'm going to talk about what time actually is, how to make the most of it, and finally, how do we even go above time to actually feel as free and as abundant and successful as possible in this life. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Welcome to Choosing to Connect, the place to love your life by living from love. My name is Tal. I'm a social psychologist and a spiritual teacher. And today I'll be talking to you about time and the urgency that we should be living our life with. Now, you might think that spirituality is all about resting and, being at peace, inner peace. Maybe you see yourself sitting on a beach somewhere, meditating. But the truth of the matter is, there is a lot of urgency to spirituality and spiritual evolution because we need to achieve a certain amount of change in a certain amount of time. Now, let me explain. It's not about doing, it is about being, but it's a new kind of achievement, right? On our physical level, we think that we need to accumulate wealth, we need to do X amount of things in our lives to feel accomplished, to feel successful. And then sometimes we think spirituality is just about letting go of all of that and just, chilling out. But the truth is, there is a lot more to achieve in our spiritual work, except it's on a completely different level, completely different essence, completely different quality. Whereas the things that we achieve on the egoistic level are material in essence, things that we achieve in our spiritual work are really the changes that we undergo internally, changes in our perception, changes in the quality of our vibration, of our attitude towards life, towards people, towards reality, changes in our consciousness. So you might think that this is something very vague or very intangible, but really there is a very specific ladder of evolution, of steps that we need to go and evolve through in order to achieve our highest level of consciousness. And Kabbalists have really written down all of this in many, many books, and you'll see it's very, very detailed and very, very precise. Now, not everybody goes through all those levels in the same way. Some people will go through this process throughout, years and years, maybe 30 or 40 years of intense research. And some people will go through this process of evolution in a much lighter way. It's just like in our world, you have scientists that develop all kinds of machines or appliances, and then you have people who use these appliances and they just press the button and it works and that's it, and they use it and everything's fine. So it's the same with spirituality. Some people will have a very intense process to go through and some people won't. But still, we all have to move forward together because it's all one, right? We're all one body, one system that are evolving together in our consciousness towards these higher and higher levels and frequencies. So let's talk a little bit about what time actually is. So apart from time being this bigger process that we're all in, right? I would call it a process of evolution, where what's really changing is the different states that we're moving through. Time is really the frequency of change. So if you're very bored, if you're just sitting there and waiting for someone, or if you're not sure what to do with yourself, you might feel like time is stretching out and it's moving very slowly. Conversely, if you're very immersed in what you're doing, or you found something that you love to do and you're doing something that you really enjoy that brings you a lot of fulfillment, then you will feel that time is moving very quickly. The time, you don't even notice that time flies by, right? So, and we sometimes hear the concept of flow, that you're in the flow and you just don't feel the time at all. So time can be a very subjective thing. And at this point, right, in our evolution, time seems to be passing a lot more quickly. And the reason is that change is happening more rapidly. Even if you look at evolution, you see that the first stages, when it was just rocks and lava and right, just the inanimate level, this was the longest phase of millions and millions and billions of years. And then the vegetative level took a much shorter time. The animate level took a much, much shorter time. And now the human level evolution is just a few 100,000 years. It's a very small amount of time in comparison to the whole scope of evolution. And so now when we've reached that point in which we need to go through our spiritual evolution, the evolution of human consciousness into higher mind, this takes place throughout, I don't know, a few generations. This is like the quickest pace of change that has ever been. And the more that we move ahead, the quicker the changes will be. Now, this is what we need to know, that what is actually changing now is not a physical reality, right? Because before, what we saw was an external change. It was dinosaurs, then it was apes, then it's humans. Now what's changing is our internal attitude towards life, our level of consciousness as expressed in our internal shifts, in our internal changes. And so the more that we are able to shift our consciousness willingly, this is the first point in time where we have to consciously make choices and consciously change in accordance to this plan. The more that we can do that, the more aligned we are with this process, and the better that feels. Now, why do we need to have a sense of urgency in our lives when thinking about this process? What's happening right now in our world, which is interesting and very intense, I would say, is that this process of evolution has come to a certain stage where it's beginning to pressure us very, very strongly to get us to move forward. Because, like I said, we need that sense of urgency. We can't just stay on the same level of consciousness and expect everything to be okay. There is a process that wants to move forward. You can say it's like a train or train tracks that are constantly moving towards that goal of higher consciousness, unity consciousness, oneness, higher levels of being. It's constantly moving us in that direction. And if we just sit back and stay the same and don't want to evolve and consciously change ourselves, then you can bet that nature, reality, life will start pressuring you to move forward, right? It's much like a birth where a baby needs to be born and the pressure starts, right? Those birth pains start. And if that baby is consciously moving down the birth canal, if they've turned around the right way and they're making efforts to move in that direction, this birth will go through so much more smoothly, more easily, more quickly, and more pleasantly than a birth where the baby just does nothing, stays head up, and is not really moving together or collaborating consciously with the process. So yes, we're undergoing a birth into higher levels of being. I think this is established, we're in transition, but how it goes along, how it plays out, the amount of pressure, the amount of suffering, the amount of intensity that we will experience depends on us. This is our free choice. Do we consciously move forward with the process? Do we have the awareness to do this? Do we know what it is that we need to change? Or do we stay the same, sit back, even hold on to our old beliefs, our old ways of life, our egos, our divisions, our opinions, everything that we have become entrenched in throughout the generations and generations of evolution. And by that, we kind of hamper the process. So what we want to do is none of that. We want to let go of these things and open ourselves up to the transformation that wants to take place. We want to be able to say to spirit, individually and as a collective, yes, we want to hear, we want to know what we need to do, show us, direct us. We're open to change. I'm going to give you just a few ideas about what this change is, because really it's something we need to experience, but I'm going to say it anyway so we all know what we're talking about here. The way that the baby transforms, right, changes direction in the womb on our level, on the human level of consciousness, is also a transformation. We also need to turn around 180 degrees from the way we've been so far. So far, what's evolved in us is our, Kabbalah calls it egoism. You can call it individuality, the ego self. That is what has evolved throughout the generations. And today we're at a time where people are the most evolved, the most opinionated, the most individualistic, the least connected, and the least able to collaborate even. You see all the divisions, all the polarization in our world. And that is what's evolved so far. And right now we're experiencing the crisis of the complete oppositeness of this egoistic self with the unity and interconnectedness of nature and the reality around us, right? We're experiencing the crisis between the way humanity has been handling itself and polluting the earth and completely destroying our environment and all of that disbalance in our lives with the interconnected system of which we're part. It's like the interconnected system is our womb and we are the baby that is completely in the wrong direction to be born and to move forward in our evolution. So to turn this around, what we need to be doing right now, the leap that we need to make, is from that ego state of consciousness where we experience ourselves as separate from other people with our own desires, our own interests, our own direction, and we begin to experience our connection, our oneness, how instead of just taking, receiving for ourselves, wanting to take from others as much as possible with the least effort, we want to change that around into becoming channels of love, of energy, of light, of giving towards each other. And this is how we shift our consciousness into our higher levels of being. Yeah, and there are stages in this. This is something that we do gradually. As I said before, they're very distinct stages, nothing vague, nothing, it's not fluffy at all. It's very, just like, the natural processes in biology, just like the evolution of the embryo and pregnancy and birth. It's all very, very ordered. It's all very precise. It's the same on our higher levels of spirituality and consciousness. We just don't perceive it because we don't have the capacity to perceive this amazing mechanism that is our spiritual evolution, but it exists, and Kabbalists have actually written about it. You can see all those books over there. All these books contain very specific details and descriptions of the spiritual system and the spiritual process. And really, it's interesting to read and interesting to know, but the most important thing for us to have and to know is really the specific thing that we need to do to change ourselves. That other knowledge will come later. As we evolve our consciousness, as we move forward in our evolution, the knowledge will come as well, because we will have attained the vessels, the feeling, right? The experience of oneness, where all that light or knowledge can really reside. Right now, within our small self, we can't really have all that knowledge. We don't really need it, because first we need to connect. Okay, so we need to have a sense of urgency in order to move forward in our evolution. We can't sit back and wait. We have to do whatever we each can in order to progress. And now, to help us all do that, I want to take a few seconds to have a kind of prayer together, to join our desires together, for us to take this moment to make real change in our reality. Because like I said before, what makes these changes in our reality is our desire, our level of consciousness, the way that we're connected. So let's close our eyes for a moment and breathe. And let's bring our attention, all that information, we can just let it move through us and help us to do what's most important, which is to reconnect to what is right here, right now. We're all here together. Spirit is all around us. And now let's connect our hearts together and desire together for the light, for Spirit to help us, to connect us, to help us come into alignment with it, to help us desire what it desires, to direct our thoughts, our emotions, and actions towards our higher goal of oneness, love, and connection. Let us pray together that our hearts unite, that we can together draw this consciousness into our world, connect the pieces of our broken soul, of our broken system, into one once more. with this prayer, with this desire, let's open our eyes. Welcome back. I hope you felt that, because we just went above time and space and connected in the true space that we exist. That space of connected hearts, a connected, united desire for love. That's who we are. That's where we're going. And the more that we do this consciously together, the more smoothly our path will go. The more smooth and pleasant our path will be. That's why I'm here, to help us all transition together as smoothly as possible. I hope we did make a shift right now together, all of us, for everyone, for humanity, for everyone connected to us. And I want us to continue to do this more and more together, to open ourselves up to Spirit and what it wants to show us and the connection it wants us to achieve. And I'm here to serve you and do this together with you. So if you have any questions, share what you felt, share your experience, write it all down here in the comments. Like this video to give it more power to transmit and to reach more people. And of course, subscribe to the channel to hear about more videos that come out. Let's spread this message together. Let's make this transformation together, because it's really the best thing that we can do for ourselves, for our children, for our world, for our future. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I send you all the light and love and health and happiness that I can transmit through me to you. And I hope that we connect again soon. Bye for now. I'll see you soon.